Welcome back to the Castle Grounds Apiary. Today I'm going to show you how we designed and created our very own custom hive tool. So the standard J-hook hive tool really has three primary functions. One is to pry boxes apart when they're propolized together. Another is to use the flat end to scrape burr comb, dress edges and stuff. And then the third and probably most common use of the J-hook hive tool is to pry frames out of their spot and then lift the frames up. Well, it works pretty well for prying edges, scraping burr comb. But one of the things that we found that a J-hook isn't great for is when you're trying to pry a frame. What'll happen is, so you'll pry one edge and then you'll try to grab it, and then you'll come over here and then you'll lift this edge, and then you're trying to lift by the tool, and then when you pull the tool off, the heavy frame goes back down. Now I know I had to cut the end off this tool to make this one, so bear with me. So remember, you're up here like this, you've got this one held, you're lifting this one out, and by the time it's up and you pull the tool off, it falls back down, and you can't pull it out. And these are light, empty, shallow frames, but you know that in an active working hive that is covered in propolis, has a full frame of honey, it is really hard to pull these up. And so what sometimes you'll do is you'll use the J-hook and you'll try to lift it. And sometimes it'll slip, the frame will fall, bees are mad. It's just kind of awkward. And then on the other end of the spectrum, when you're putting the frames back in, you'll be holding the frame like this, and sometimes the frame will stick to your gloves or your fingers, and you'll let go and you'll drop the frame, or you'll try to kind of maneuver it in. And I just really felt like there had to be a better way. So I went to paper and I did some drawings, and I cut this little guy out of paper, just a little template. And the idea is you have a J-hook that stays in your hand. You have the prying and scraping function on the hand guard. You have the inner piece that you hold, and then you have the hook. And the beauty about the hook is you can reach in and grab it and then use your fingers to hold, and then you can even do the reverse to put the frame back in. Anyway, so here's where it started on paper. Once the paper version seemed plausible, I went to Tinkercad because I'm not a real engineer or 3D modeler, and I came up with a 3D rendering for a print, and I'll show you what that looks like. If you've never used any 3D modeling software, it's pretty neat. Tinkercad's a free software, it's very basic, but you can see here how you can take a very complex shape like this hive tool, and just by overlaying lots and lots of shapes, you can create something 100% custom. This took 48 different layers and variations of shapes to come up with this, but it didn't take long, and it actually worked well. So then we have the plastic version. In fact, I made one for both hands, so you can see here. The idea is you never lose the use of your hands or fingers. You can literally do anything you want to do, and you always have the tool. And then you can also pick up your frame. So the frames are in the hook, and then my fingers go to the frames, and then you can do the same thing in reverse. You get it into position, and then you can let the hooks rest and your hands free. So once we made them out of plastic and we had proof of concept, now one thing I did notice about the plastic models was that my hook here was just a little too thick. You can see I kind of made it a little thinner. But once I knew the plastic would work, then we went to the metal version. Oh, I'm sorry. Then we went to the metal version, and this is just a couple of standard Hive tools that I cut up and re-welded it. It is rough, but this is still a prototype. You can hold it between these two fingers. You can move it down for these if you need more leverage or scraping, because there are things about this that aren't quite as good. It doesn't scrape as well just because your hand is kind of in the way, but you can still take it off, scrape, and then don it again. And I'm thinking what we'll do, and this does work really well. The only thing I think I'm going to make in the next version is I'm going to create a little more space between here and here, because when it's on my non-gloved hand, it's perfect. But whenever we put our gloves on, and that adds just that little bit of extra space, it's a little tight. So we need to make this a little taller, but it does work really well. I mean, it just gets right in there. You still have this shoulder of the J, so you can pry against the frames. The hook is fully functional. Obviously, this is a repurposed J hook, and no matter what you're doing, it stays on your hand. You never have to put a tool down. You never wonder, where's my J hook? It's always in your hand. And we call these hawks. Well, plural. It's a hawk. Two is hawks. The idea being that this kind of looks like a wing. This kind of looks like a beak. And when you put the two together, it kind of looks like a hawk. Maybe, no. Anyway, a hawk is a regal creature, much like the kings of old, and we're fans of that kind of thing. So if you like the Castle Grounds hawk, give me a thumbs up. It is kind of just a idea we're tinkering with. Whenever we get the final form factor 100% dialed in, I think probably we're going to forge these out of steel. I'm working on a blacksmith forge now, and I think it'd have a cool look to actually make these, hammer these out, and kind of give them a rustic look. Who knows? If you like them, let me know. Thanks for watching.